We still think GK is coming, but we'll find
I
out.
just heard the front door.
I didn't hear otherwise, but.
Yeah, so one way or the other, we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good to get the group back together again.
Been a while.
So I would like to add just one very brief thing to the agenda, which is just a quick acknowledgement about the Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct. So with that addition, are there any other suggestions, changes to the agenda, or can we go ahead and call it good?
Do you need a motion?
I think we do.
Okay, make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
You had the minutes, I believe, were sent to everyone from the prior meeting. Are there any comments?
There's one word right there that says is, and it should say if. That's the only thing I saw.
Maybe you could tell Taylor where that is.
Yeah, it's at the end of the first item in the last paragraph where it says Chairman Squires says that is town council approves. That should be if town, right? That's the only thing I saw.
Good eye for detail. Okay, with that one suggested change, we have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Cool. So just real briefly, before we jump into the two printed items, everyone should have received an email from Hillary transmitting an 18-page, I believe it was, document that was the Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct for the town. That is, if you were at the town council meeting or watched it, you know that was approved by town council and requested that we all, as members of this board as well as other boards in the town, acknowledge it and conduct ourselves accordingly. So we have the opportunity to sign that tonight and provide it to Taylor. So I don't know if there's any questions or anybody missed out on that opportunity. So that's all I had on that. I didn't know if anybody else wants to talk about that's fine, but just wanted to acknowledge that we had all received that. Yes. And have the opportunity to get it out of our hands tonight. Cool. All right. So with that having been said, go to the printed agenda. Item number 1, update from the Workforce Housing Subcommittee, which is a subcommittee of this.
I'll start. We had our meeting before this one at 4 o'clock, and as a subcommittee, we're still working through what our parameters, needs, terms, and criteria are. And we'd like to open it up to the planning board as a whole tonight to add some additional comments, feedback that may help us guide into the correct lane so we can make some forward traction. We had a guest at this meeting, this last meeting. His name was Will Miller, and he has been involved with Charlotte Family Housing, which is a 501c3 nonprofit who provides a rental assistance program for folks that need housing. And this is in Charlotte, so the inventory is different than what we have here. So that presentation or discussion led to additional discussion about identifying our scope of the issue here, what it is it we appeal to short-term rental owners and ask them, are you interested, instead of doing short-term rentals, do you want to open up your home to a long-term rental? There's several different things that he discussed, but he suggested that we check out the Charlotte Family Housing website. And what they did was they leveraged a lot of donor relationships and faith partnerships to make that happen. I think it's something that could be potential for us, but that's way on down the road. We've got to solve some other issues of inventory and a few other things first. I'm looking at my notes, seeing if there's anything else. As far as the rest of the subcommittee, if y'all want to fill in any gaps that I have left out, please feel free to do so, and then we'll open it up to the planning board as a whole to discuss.
I would just comment that I thought Will Miller's comment about rental assistance program, that he thought that that was really the only way to go if we were serious about solving whatever this problem is. He didn't think as a developer that it would work to give some kind of a bonus incentive, density incentive that just never works. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And the rental assistance program he described, as you said, would be administered by a nonprofit. Maybe it could be something like the Village Foundation or a faith-based organization, a combination, or maybe a new organization. But we're not, that's a long way off, as you suggest.
Yeah. Woody, Brandon, do y'all have anything that you'd like to? Okay. All right.
I just maybe we defined workforce housing as moderate income housing. I think there was some confusion about that, at least amongst myself and people I've talked to in town.
So, I'm sorry, you said that, your group did clarify that's what you're after.
That's right.
So I guess if you want to, what input you wanted to get from the rest of the board this evening? Did you have items, or was it an open-ended?
It's open-ended. Just thoughts on what we've reported back thus far. The first two meetings, we talked about potential land spaces if a developer wanted to build something. So I think as a board, we pretty well know what those are, or what the potential could be for those. But I think the biggest piece now is we don't have the inventory, so how do we make the inventory happen? And then how do we manage that inventory? How does that all occur? And so we're open to a discussion to help us further define those parameters from a terms, criteria, and market need.
Okay. I guess for those of us who are not on the subcommittee, comments, thoughts that we could provide now, or questions even for the subcommittee group?
I will say Kevin has also reached out to, can you tell the planning board who you've reached out to? I don't remember the program that you used to do that, about like markets.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to find other communities like us, our size, and one of the other, Steve had pointed out earlier today, one of the requests of the subcommittee was find other communities that don't have a housing authority, that provide or have a incentive program for workforce housing defined by, a percentage, or, have a scenario on how you would define that. And my first response back was someone else that wanted the same information. Let me know what you find out.
Sure.
So nothing so far on that. And so I'm still trying to find some other communities. And then today, the subcommittee asked me to reach out to some other states. And I know there has been issues that I have heard about in Jackson Hole and other places. So that's why the other places, Colorado,
Right.
like places that have an issue with that. And so I'll do a little digging on that. One of the things we worked on today was trying to define who is eligible. And we were looking at the types of occupations that these members of these families might have. And it's wide range. So instead of defining it by what you do, it might be better to define it by what you make, because you're going to be using numbers to see if you qualify. And I've got some information here. I think maybe I sent this out from Tyler Mulligan, School of Government. But some of the things that it talks about there are low income housing. and moderate income housing. As Brandon pointed out, workforce housing, we're probably more in that moderate definition. So, and I said something wrong to the subcommittee. I said 30%, and that was wrong. It's low income is 60% of the area median income. Moderate income is 80% of the average median income. So, and that varies significantly across this county. So if you look at census statistics and trying to define what AMI is for Boone, it's 2023 numbers, 28,633, average median income of that household. So if you take 80% of that, that gives you 22,906. So that's your category. If you make that, then you qualify. Multiply that times 30%. The 30% is how much of your yearly salary should be devoted towards housing. And so that leaves you with $6,871. Turn that into what your monthly rent or mortgage would be. That's $572. Yeah, that's great. That's boom. The county is $51,000, so that comes out to about $1,027 a month. Blowing Rock is $120,000, almost $121,000. So that mortgage payment is going to look more like $24,000 to qualify for this program. So if you use that, we're not achieving anything. We're not going to make opportunity by using the Blowing Rock AMI to fit that category of employment or that family. So just numbers there, but the numbers are important in how we define moving forward.
And Brandon also noted that if there is long-term rental inventory available, it's not going to fall in that monthly payment parameter. It's going to be well above that. So that knocks most if not all of the long-term units available out.
So I guess, if I have a question, I guess along the lines of eligibility or kind of who's the target audience of this. We talked about workforce housing. Is it workforce inside the town limits, or are we trying to town limits plus ETJ, trying to do the whole county, and kind of what's the aspiration of this discussion?
Probably town and ETJ.
So someone who's working in the town in ETJ, that's of moderate income, but that's okay. Cool.
And I think depending on, again, what that final inventory piece looks like, if we find that we have additional inventory available, then I think we can open it up to outside town limits and ETJ with the right definitions, everything in place.
And funding.
That's right, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
All those
Yeah,
things.
these are all the ifs.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, glad to hear you all making progress. Thanks, Bill, Tom, GK, any other input or questions?
Just another question, because you did define the limits to the town. I'm curious, we've also talked about, who may qualify, but do we have any idea how large this need is currently? How many families are in need of this?
So I'm trying to drill down on some of that
Okay.
by contacting my people at the hospital, ASU. I have not reached out to Watauga County Schools, but I've got a lot of follow-up to do to see if they have some numbers they can help us with or share with us.
Okay.
And these are obviously the large employers, but I think these are the people that are going to be bringing in the folks that would occupy this housing.
Well, that wouldn't necessarily be a town employee then, would it?
No, but just,
Not solely, no.
no, and for my own just personal knowledge, I just want to know kind of what the overall number is, and then what does that look like as we narrow it down into then the town limits?
I would think that two things I would want to know would be, number one, what our property inventory is that fits this. And then just figure out what the average rents are. And, you know, and they're going to be high if they're in town of
That's
Roy
right.
Rock. My other question is how will we fund it? We've gotten pretty good at spending money. I don't know how we fund this. And then when we do the math and do the percentages with what the people make that work for the town, does the math even work?
Right.
And I think we need to run some models and see if the math even works.
Yeah, well, that's why we were hoping to be able to find some case studies or white papers to have somewhat of a starting point to go in and redline and think, how does this work with us? But we're not coming across that.
I know. Well, I mean, I think there's a possibility that when you finally get the numbers and do the math, you may find it doesn't work. It just doesn't pencil,
Right.
right? So that would be my thought.
And just to be clear from something you said, I think this is not about town employees, it's about people who work within the town agency,
Yes.
right? So just
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that.
This is not a program that the town would be paying for. Let's be clear about that. This is not.
So how do we fund it?
We're not trying to fund it. The town's not trying to fund this. What we're talking about is creating an incentive scenario for a developer that comes in that says, okay, you want to develop out on 321. Or it did extend it to R6. In a subcommittee meeting we had, it said, okay, general business and then R6. 5 units per acre is your limit right now, this residential density. If you want to go up to 6 units or 7 units per acre, we would allow that through this development process if you provide a percentage of your total housing units as workforce housing, meeting the criteria that we would establish. The developer would have to decide, is it worth it? You know, as you said, does the math work?
Right.
Am I just taking a bath here and not be able to make any money, or not make additional money over what I could do at 5 units per acre, or does it pay off? That's what their bottom line, unless they're just generous and say, I just want to provide a section over here that's going to be for workforce housing. So, not anything close to inclusionary zoning. We're not going to touch that. We're not going to do what Chapel Hill and Davidson did. But if the developer says, hey, what's this incentive if I provide additional housing units for workforce? Well, and we don't know what those numbers are, but if you choose this and you want to make that part of your development, then you can go this route and have additional density. So that's one way that we're thinking of solving that issue.
Well, I do appreciate you guys, the work you've done so far. Sure.
We're not clear what we've done so far.
But you're trying.
We tried. Even today, we were meeting like, all right, what do we do next? We're trying to define what the goals are, and without doing too many things outside of that. You know, let's be clear about it. It's difficult. And as I mentioned, there's no one else doing it.
Tough topic.
And it's one of those things where I feel like as a subcommittee, if we can define what the low hanging fruit is, we can start making bite-sized progress that can lead, like you're saying, to a feasibility of whether this is something that can even be entertained or not based on availability, income, and other criteria.
Bringing Will in today was helpful to say, this is what they've done in Charlotte. And they had a champion of a nonprofit that was going to be leading the incentive, the program, and there was outside funding sources, private money that helped in those situations where they had more of a need than your moderate income. They were more in the low, and so But from a developer standpoint too, it's gotta make sense.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be a 501c3 doing rent subsidies. That seems to be the quickest way to put something together and get it working. But it's a fundraising effort then.
Right, and the other thing we talked about was, well, if we don't even have the back end defined, we can't start asking people for money.
That's right. We've got to have a process.
That's right.
I think that out of 85 employees in town, we're just talking about town employees, I think there's only 2 that live in town. It might be 3, I think it's just 2. Several traveling as far away as Hickory. Holly lives in Hickory, Michelle lives in Mountain City, some in Wilkes, some in Ash, Avery, Caldwell for sure. Not necessarily because the affordability, but also because of the size of the market, of the inventory. It's just not, simply not there, even if it was, and it's affordable, somebody living there. So there's an inventory of units that would be great, but they're full, and then we're very limited in what that's. So we're trying to see if there's a way that you can increase the inventory that's available for the workforce that works here. We're not trying to solve it for all of Watauga County, but they share in the same issue. So out of collective knowledge that's in here, is there anything else we should be uncovering? Any planners in the building?
Well, I think you're off to a good start, but it is, like Lindsay said, I think it is this question of kind of figuring out the next pieces of understanding inventory and perhaps the latent demand. And, I mean, I know we said when we formed this subcommittee it was going to be a long work and not a short-term spin. So, yeah, this time, so thank you for getting started on it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, our second item, which I believe Kevin will leave their update on commercial design standard modification. And you want to, or Brian, or
I'll let
whoever's.
Brian.
We'll let Brian do it, all right.
Right.
So, yeah, we're just going to give you an update on where we were at with this, that we're dragging our feet with this. I did give you a handout. Somewhat of a synopsis from the School of Government. This has been out for some time. Gives you kind of an idea of what's out there. The thing with the School of Government, this is a shot at trying to explain what's out there. It's even very vague in their wheelhouse of what's going on. So staff has been working, we've been trying to tread the water, as things have been, where it's going. Staff, we have been working on some of the guidelines, the ordinance for the downtown. And we've been working with the town attorney. We wanted to get something in front of him but we didn't want to go too far with this and waste time doing it. But we need to get something in front of him to let him say yes or no. This is going to work. It's not going to work. This applies. It's not applying. And I think if you read through this, to give you an idea, some of y'all may not even be familiar with what this is. But it was a bill that was attached to, I think, some of the disaster relief recovery, and it couldn't be denied. So it got passed through, and here we are. It's not only affects us planners and the planning board, here's the planning board, and ties your hands as well on how things can move forward. boards.
Is this tied to the block grant funding at all?
If it was a disaster recovery
Yeah,
field,
yes, okay,
I think it was a big dollar amount bill, basically.
yep, okay.
So Brian, may I just temporary pause, just for the benefit of the three people sitting in the audience. One, I don't know if we have any extra of these handouts.
I do have one.
If any, but maybe we could just say out loud that this is not specific to the town of Blowing Rock in any way. This is just an opinion paper from,
Yeah, and if you want to Google, you can Google School of Government, now zoning, it's their blog.
I just want to be clear, the handout is not an ordinance for, it's not, you're not giving us any language specific to town, so.
Just wanted to throw it out there, let you digest it, and maybe y'all can figure it out, how the school government out. But we did put some things in front of our town attorney. Like I said, we've been working on the downtown stuff. Reformatting, just doing a kind of relayout of ordinance separating downtown from where the subcommittee had worked on all this. And there's three bullet points in this bill that basically, number one, you can't produce density on the projects or properties. Number two, you cannot limit uses on properties. And the third thing, which is pretty much the catch-all of everything, is you cannot, if you're familiar with, nonconformities, you cannot create any kind of nonconformity moving forward with anything. So that pretty much catches anything that you try to propose, unless you are trying to, say you had a material list and you want to add more materials to it. You can add and go above and beyond something you have in ordinance. But a lot of the things we were trying to work on in downtown stuff was really honing in some of the requirements of materials, colors and things like that. So our town attorney feels like we're kind of a stopping point with this until some further action is taken. I think legislation takes back up a little bit later. I think we're pretty sure there's a few folks that's going to pursue this either through trying to fill it out or through maybe trying to modify it somehow. It's a big bill that limits forward-thinking planning, basically. Now, there is some exceptions in there with health safety type things. So I guess in the meantime, we're going to keep plugging along on some of the things we feel like we might can move forward with. Colors and materials, awnings being some of that, especially the maintenance of them, which is really concerned with a lot of folks. So we're going to try to work with that, get it back in front of the town attorney. Is this something that we'll not feel comfortable moving forward? But the question is, there's so many unknowns with this. People probably haven't even been challenged on it yet. So the question is, you throw something out there, okay, it flies, but you don't know until it's been challenged. So that's why we're probably just kind of pause mode. We'll keep plugging along and see if there's some things that maybe we can get moving. Just look through this. Try to wrap your head around the school of government camp. They kind of laid out kind of what they're thinking. We'll just kind of have to wait and see the next month when things start moving forward.
So as a planning board, should we have any expectation of seeing language from you, even if it's pared down in the next few months, or we just pause means don't? Okay.
I think our goal is to, the next few months, is try to see if some of this that we've been working on for so long, we feel comfortable moving forward with. What shape or form that is, we just don't know yet.
Conditional district zoning is not effective by any of that,
That's right.
because that's a unique zoning district just for that parcel.
That's correct. And one of the big things we may be looking at with the town attorney is how this might apply to if we award it to new projects. If it's somehow awarded toward new projects, then we wouldn't be dealing with any kind of non-conformities. So that we can at least get to a certain point moving forward with some of them. Yeah, I mean, our hope is to get something back in front of you that we feel comfortable with. Now, we all don't want to get something in front of you, okay, we feel good about moving this forward, but we're setting in the back of our mind whether we make it challenging. And it's happening across the state.
So we're looking to, there may be some piecemealing of this where we approve one little thing and it may take longer than trying to put the whole package like we were thinking originally.
I think that could be the case, but I think we want to make sure we have something worthwhile moving forward and we're not piecemealing too much. Urge you just look through it, kind of wrap your head around it, hopefully you'll know a little bit more as we progress.
If you remember, this legislation went back 6 months prior to, so it captured anything that had been done prior to December of 11. And so that would have been what the town adopted in November, which was really new zoning districts, building heights, setbacks, and those things, and how they applied. How it negatively affected properties or created a nonconformity really just appeared on 2 properties. It was in the town center east, town center west, on this side of the street, the Reinhardt building and Mellow Mushroom. Because everything else would really fit into that setback.
They would be, if I recall, they would be conforming with Town Center East, but they're not conforming with Town Center West.
So we have not proposed to make any changes. So we're waiting on that too. Do we need to make a change to correct that action? But at this time, we're not. Because we're hoping, if there's any movement on this, maybe a little pullback from what was adopted, that we may be okay. What we might bring to you, based on talking with Joey, is we had proposed a limitation of colors from the 240 some that we have, which if you look at the board, a lot of them look like the same color, to something like 25 or 24, I think is what the one thing I think we presented to you. I mean, if we could do that, we feel like most colors would fit into those categories anyway. We don't have anything right now, but we'd like to at least move something forward to you.
We're exploring the materials, something that we feel comfortable, because we maintain a color book that's referenced in the ordinance. We maintain it separately. It's something that typically, if it's referenced and you have it here, you can do minor changes in material to colors and things. So that's something that we'll explore a little bit more. We'll keep you posted. Just want to give you all an update. We have been working on it a little bit. It's time to wait and see.
Does this affect the comprehensive plan? No, okay.
It's disappointing because we worked a long time. The first subcommittee that was going to address downtown was in 2018. Pete was on it. He was on planning board at the time. So a lot of work went into it, and it's not just because it's a lot of work, because we thought it was good stuff for our town, because we have uniqueness and we're trying to protect that. And it feels like legs are cut out from under you with the way that this played out.
Well, I think the sentiment across the state is, especially downtown, you're trying to protect it a little bit more. That's what's really interesting. I think staff's at this point, we're going to trudge on like, hey, we're going to put this ordinance and have it ready. We're going to have it ready in case we get you we'll do some of the low things and then we'll try to get the document prepared and go ahead and be able to run it.
Any other questions for Brian or Kevin? All right, well, thank you for the update. Still happy news. We would like to see some fruits of our labor, I'm sure.
I think it's anticipated that maybe some favorable change, but
Do you think the school government will offer workshops on breaking this down as they know more for different municipalities to attend so we can all understand it?
I think the blog is probably their summary.
Neat, okay.
That's the way they handle it.
Okay.
it's pretty enlightening when you read through it. Adam Lovelady's probably the smartest dude in the state.
Yeah, he's great.
If he's scratching his head, everybody's probably scratching their head.
Maybe we need to get Rich Ducker back up.
Well, if there's no other questions, we'll say thank you for the update. Look forward to hearing more. Okay. Any other business? We've had our committee report from our subcommittee, but any other business for the planning board?
Can we get an update on some of the projects that have been approved in this past year?
Yeah,
I mean, I can.
you asked a specific one.
I'll
give you
ask a
an-
specific one.
Yeah,
It's been some time since we approved the townhomes on 321. I haven't seen any activity there. Is that still alive and well?
We received the initial building permit for building one, which was the 2 units, and haven't heard much else after that. So it was, I believe the building permit was approved by John, and possibly, I think all the grading stuff fell underneath, their initial presentation, but that's all we've heard so far, nothing else.
Now, the project on Morris Lane, I know they did.
Morris Street.
Morris Street, I'm sorry, they did demolition, but I haven't seen any activity. Did they pull a permit?
The other question,
just the demo permit.
question on that one too, Kevin, because when it was presented to us and also passed by the commissioners, that they were not tearing everything down. They were leaving walls, they were, leaving some structure there, and there's nothing there. I mean, it's down to the cement. Did they present that they had problems leaving it up or anything too?
Yeah, they were hoping to leave some of that really for their own cost purposes, so they didn't have to build back everything. But they found as they demoed, it was cost benefit to tear it down and build back better.
But they did come to the planning, to you guys after or before when they found that out? I mean, because they didn't come back to us with any changes.
The approval of that project was not dependent on whether they kept a couple walls up, because the walls were going back in the same location. So it was a matter of, it was for their benefit if they could leave them, if it was a cost benefit, but it was not. There was no benefit in the condition of that.
I'm not sure if it was a benefit or not, but it was part of the package that we approved. It was on there.
Insignificant.
It didn't make a difference.
That was not a project. Yeah, it was not like a condition, or it wasn't, because you're gonna leave a couple of old building walls that we're gonna approve it. Or I don't think it was set, it was not set up that if you don't do that, the project's not approved. It was not that way. It was incidental. Yes, that was the intent, but it was, once demo began, there was no benefit in keeping it.
It was set out to meet the materials, the
Yeah.
footprint, everything you see on the elevation.
Right. Everything will still be just like it was proposed, it just won't have an old wall.
It's probably best, but I just, personally, I didn't know if that was something that was kind of required, or that they would have to say, listen, I can't keep this wall, I'm gonna have to take it down, at least advise
No,
the planning.
no, it was not like it was volunteered information, I think, through their permit process, that our intent is to keep some of these walls, but it did not have any bearing on the finished product.
One more, I would ask, do you have anything to report on the condo project that seems to be dead, the one facing Wallingford between Pine and Laurel Lane?
Well, I had someone come in today. Brian and I met online and looked at some a redesign of that site that we both felt was a great improvement over what they had wanted to do. There's no application, there's no plans on my desk, but we talked with some architects that are involved in that. And they actually came in today. We didn't look at anything, we just talked. And so hopefully, it's one of those probably was hurry up and wait. You know, we were hoping to see something change, but if they change, it will have to come back before planning board and council. But you have approved something in November for them moving forward.
Any more on the Hampton Inn?
Got an email from, and we're waiting to hear back from them. That one is a special use permit application, so I think I can tell you that much information.
And just a reminder to everybody, that means it is quasi judicial.
That's right.
And not something we can discuss.
Right.
You don't anticipate that coming before the planning board in the next month or two? We just don't know.
Just don't know. Yeah, we're not running the show on that side. Just wait and receive, see what happens.
So my curiosity would be about you've addressed it before, but now I'm just curious about calendar on Edmiston 321 Lower Rock Ale House site. We've got to be running into time, right?
He's not gonna do that, probably.
Okay.
I'll just answer that way. He's not.
But irrespective of it,
I don't, I think
there's a calendar issue.
expired.
Yeah.
You know, he never got a building permit issued. And so that is the next vesting that would trigger continuance
Right.
of his permit. As long as you are working on plans, from the statute standpoint, you are working. You don't have to be shoveling and digging and hammering. But we haven't received anything.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it.
Unless you have something else to report.
No.
It's coming
I'm
down the
only
pipe.
going to respond to what you asked me. I think for many years, y'all asked about the Old Scotsman.
Well, now we can see
It's under
it.
construction. I was excited as you were. Something happened.
Their boundary fencing is nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah. The butcher place seems to be moving along. The old Joe's
That poor
place.
guy.
And
He's good for
the
him.
Bubba's Burgers, I think they're shooting for second week of September, maybe third, down there at the Exxon.
Oh, is that what? Oh.
Second week of, I'm sorry, second week of,
September, second or third of September, hopefully, be good.
Are you having to do the research from last council meeting about short-term rentals and vacancy rates and all that?
No, I'm not. But I did provide our workforce housing with some figures. 219 short-term rentals in town. And 538 hotel rooms.
Yeah, that's the one I got from DDA.
That's what I got from Tracy Brown.
Yeah, I figured you'd be calling you.
Yeah.
And a vacancy rate of 65%.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I went ahead and asked him about that too. I wondered what Brandon's opinion of vacancy rate would be. I guess everybody's got a different one.
Now, that's in the whole blowing arc, that's just not downtown, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
city
no,
limits.
yes, okay. Town and, yeah, just town.
And that does not include
Interesting for me on that is
That's
how many,
Pretend number.
it would be interesting to know how many of those hotel and short-term rentals have parking in town as compared to coming in town to park. You know, I mean, even if you have Cliff Dwellers up there, they're coming in town to park as compared to a hotel downtown that has parking for their.
You go to Cliff Dweller, you don't park on site.
He's saying if you're coming to a
Yeah, and
restaurant.
if you,
right?
yeah, and if you wanna come to
Oh,
a restaurant
like-
down here, you gotta find a place down here to park.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Okay.
you're not walking, you're not gonna walk up Cliff Dwellers.
Yeah, but
You
I
might
thought
walk-
what you were
might
saying
walk
is
down, you know.
they couldn't park up there, they had to park downtown and walk up.
No.
It's the opposite.
It's just, you know, what I'm saying is we're bringing in, we have, as we bring in, hotels and or VRBs or whatever we're gonna bring in, the more that are outside of town, even maybe on the Shopson Parkway, if they could provide shuttle services instead of having that additional people having to find parking in the city itself. So those are, you know, if we have the venues like Green Park is doing in the town, Shopson Parkway, if those have shuttle services, they become independent venues that don't have to have additional parking downtown, I guess is what my statement is, because, you know, 530 rooms, you know, I bet you don't have 190 or 200 in the city itself, you know, in downtown. So, it's just a way of looking at, I look at how we can keep the people in the city without having to have more additional parking.
Okay. Any other questions for Kevin? Or Brian? Who's prepared for Kevin? All right, any other business? And thank you, as always, for your preparation, Taylor. So, all good? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.